before I dig into the different kinds of these links, the gist of what we're trying to do with the thing that my talk is about, right? This one big database to rule them all, is to say, is it possible now, I'm going to scooch back a little bit, is it possible today to build this whole graph, all these things that I'm talking about, all these like cool little entities and the links between them and stuff like that, is it possible to do that with open data today? And by doing it with open data, could we then give that whole access to that whole graph away for free? And if we could give access to that whole graph away for free, then would it be possible for all of these use cases that I discussed in my first class, all of those to be solved without having to pay for some kind of a product? And the nice thing about that is if they don't have to pay for access to some kind of a product, they can share all the results, right? And people can build tools on that open graph. And that's kind of the goal that we have in mind, is to say, let's bring all of those, all of these entities and all these links all into one place, and then make that whole graph available for free so people could build stuff on it. I think the citation example is a really good one. In the early days of citation mining, Eugene Garfield, he did all this by hand, right? He looked through individual papers and he wrote them all down. And eventually Web of Science was created, and they still do it by hand, right? It's a bunch of human people looking at papers, reading them, and, well, maybe typing now, but like they manually actually look at the thing and write it down. So a number of years after that, Scopus comes along, right? And Scopus comes along and says, hey, we can do this. Instead of manually, we can do it automatically. We can save a lot of time and money. And Scopus does that, and they're able to create a much bigger database for much cheaper. My argument is I think there's a third step to this kind of revolution, and that is not only can we start with doing it, so we can start with doing it, like I said, kind of on paper. That's real slow. We can move to electronic. That's a lot faster. But then the kind of third generation is we can do the electronic free version, right? The electronic open version by using open data sources and open data sets and putting those together. We can go from the cost of Web of Science, which is super expensive, cost of Scopus, which is which is less expensive but still expensive, to the cost of something that is essentially free or so cheap that it can be given away.